Shaikh Jaffar Mujtahidi, right? Who was one of the 30 men of the 12th Imam. When one dies, another one comes, another dies. And this is why many of the Urfa have said, they said 90% of the time that those people who have claimed to have met the Imam, actually not met the Imam, they've met one of the companions of the Imams. So sometimes you go, you do an a'mal, you're stuck in a desert, you go to Hajj, you go to ziyarat, you see this Nurani person comes, he helps you, it disappears. Many people actually think that's the 12th Imam. For the vast majority of the time is one of the helpers of the Imam, right? Not saying that you can't do ziyarah of the Imam in ghaib, of course you can. It's haram to reveal it to people, it's not haram to see the Imam. It's two different things. So for the vast majority of people who are doing ziyarah of somebody, when they're thinking that I'm doing ziyarah of the Imam, actually it's one of his helpers. And that's fine. That's not a problem. But the one thing you need to remember is this. That when you look at somebody like Jaffar Mujtahidi, how did he get to that maqam? One, ishq of Ali. But there's another thing, and I'm going to tell you the secret. The reason being is that I want all of you to benefit. Otherwise, secrets are left as secrets. But because it's the time of bewilderment, it's important for you to remember this. Shaykh Jaffar Mujtahidi one day walks into a home where there were people there, and the first thing he says when he walks in, he goes, "Why is this room so dark for?" So, "Oh, the lights are on. What are you talking about?" He says, "Go and recite a Hadith-e-Kisa so that this room can be munawwar." What does that tell you? Where there is no dhikr of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad in a household, there's no malaika that come down. Jaffar Mujtahidi would look at the malaika come down. He says, "Read Hadith-e-Kisa." Now remember this. As we go forward, you're going to find a new fitna that's going to arise. It's already begun. That people will say, Hadith-e-Kisa is weak, it's weak, it's weak. Now, no, this has already started many years ago in Qum. I still remember when some of my own peers, friends, or acquaintances, they weren't friends, but they were acquaintances, were saying, Hadith-e-Kisa is weak, it's not in Fulan, and it's not this, and it's not that, and Shaykh Abbas al-Qummi. And I saw, when the debate was ongoing, Ayatollah Tabrizi had died that year. And the 40th of the Majlis of Ayatollah Tabrizi, they're in front of us, they're still debating what should we do. Ayatollah Bahjat walks in. The minute that he walks in, everybody goes quiet. He says, Hadith-e-Kisa bikhun, read Hadith-e-Kisa. Everybody went quiet. They knew marja of the time, right? A man who has complete total grip over his nafs. A person whose eyes are open to a different reality. He says, read Hadith-e-Kisa. Those people of the awliya Allah, their word is Hadith-e-Kisa. Ayatollah Bahjat, one of the most famous scholars that we've had in the 20th century. That Bahjat that would go into a graveyard and people would say to him, "Allah, go 5 minutes, just recite Fatiha and move. What are you doing just sitting there? What are you doing sitting there?" He says, "You don't know, I can see the pressure of the grave, I can see the adhab of the grave. I'm sitting here so that I can pray that it removes." That Bahjat said. He said, if ever you fall into difficulty of any status, there are 4 things that you should recite. And I remember a very close relative of mine also told me this. He couldn't have children for 10 years. And I asked him and he said, I did this amal of Ayatollah Bahjat and Allah gave me a daughter. 4 things that he said they should. And this relative of mine, this is Mujtahidi, was a student of Ayatollah Wahid and so forth. But anyhow, he said that there were 4 things. Right? He said one of them is Hadith-e-Kisa. From the 4 things you make an intention that I'll do 4 things. One of those things, Hadith-e-Kisa. So remember, that is powerful. Read it, understand it, teach your children it. And if any time in your life you find a fitna arises where people are trying to destroy Hadith-e-Kisa, our du'as, ziyarat, all of these things, be vigilant. Because they want to destroy your remember, ziyarat or the ziyarah that you recite, Bir Ali Yasin. Right? Be it Ziyarat Jami Kabira, be it Zat Ashura, be it any of those ziyarat of Rajab. These are your relationship. It teaches you how to enact with your imam. So they're trying to destroy your relationship with your imam. Then they'll put ishkal on dua. They'll say this dua is incorrect, that dua is incorrect, this. Why? Because they're trying to destroy your relationship with Allah. And then finally, moving on, they'll come to the Quran eventually. And they'll say there's no sunnah to the Quran. They all say that, right? That's the development, because if you take it to that respect, they're going to say there's no sunnah to the... Eventually they're going to try and deconstruct your entire faith. And there's answers to all of this. Believe me. If you want right now, we can sit down and discuss the 3 chains, at least that I know of Ziyarat Ashura, which Ayatollah Jubairi himself stamped. When this discussion was taking place, I remember, in front of me, there are 3 chains that some... Again, a very close person of mine, there was a discussion, he says, take this and take it to Ayatollah Jubairi. When he sees this, he'll stamp it. He took it, all the chains, everything else. There's a lot of these ishkalat which are being brought forward are, as we would say, half-cooked, underbaked. If that's the case, then why are you Shia for? If you want to bring, why are you Shia for? Show me the sanad, show me the riwayah.